The Destiny community is mad, and we're going to talk all about that. But before we do, I just wanted to say, while I still have my voice, thank you. I'm officially back home after having spent all weekend at GCX, formerly Guardian Con in Florida, and I'm just so overwhelmed at all the support and the love and the wonderful people that I met while I was down there. I not only shoutcasted the official charity tournament where we raised money for St. Jude Children's Hospital along with Magic and Old Man Mikowski, part of the reason why my voice is partially gone, by the way, but I also did an official meet and greet where I tag teamed along with Astacross, and truly we just had an incredible time. Near the end of the day, the GCX staff team had to start packing up and closing down the venue. They straight up asked us if we wanted to leave, and if need be, they would simply tell the remaining people, sorry, y'all, day's officially over, meet and greet is done. But that didn't sit well with me and Cross, so we literally took the entire rest of the waiting line outside and kept the meet and greet going out in the hallway until we'd spoken with every single person and the line was gone. Again, incredibly memorable weekend, and thanks to all of you for sharing your stories and kind words with me. They won't be forgotten. And on that note, you probably wouldn't be surprised as to what the overall vibe was from almost every person I spoke to at GCX. The vibe was not good. Players were confused, players were kind of hurt, and feeling left in the dark after reading the less than stellar State of the Game article that had dropped last Thursday. I think it's pretty understood that Bungie really has no legal requirements or anything to even give us a State of the Game, and to some degree, it's good that they're still willing to do routine sit-downs with the community and give us a heads up on what is going on from their side of the fence. But even still, it's hard to be fully appreciative of that level of communication when the things that we're hearing are mostly disappointing to the community at large. Naturally, the most hurt player base I heard from at GCX was the PvP community. While the vast majority of the convention attendees told me that they were more focused on the PvE side, those who were significantly invested in PvP were feeling fairly abandoned. Bungie had mentioned in their big article that due to the way their studio structure is built, their workflow is more focused on supporting PvP via overarching updates rather than focusing exclusively on maps. Shifting the focus to building new PvP maps would then come with a trade-off that would divert focus away from many other things that players love, like new story or exotic mission content. That part has been a particular pain point for a lot of people that I spoke to. I always like to remind people before opening my mouth that I'm just a player, and openly admit to having zero knowledge of how game dev workflow operates behind the curtain. I don't want to be one of those people who talks as though there's clearly an easy solution sitting right there in plain sight, and that the dev team are just a bunch of jabronis for not seeing it so clearly sitting out in the open. As a matter of fact, some folks in the community have put some pretty bold takes out there, making assumptions about how things must work behind the curtain, only to have seemingly ignited an industry-wide discussion from other game devs about how certain things actually work. Again, I'm not going to pretend that I know how things work, and I won't demand change just for my own sake. I do just want to openly wonder, though, with so much of the community expressing their desire for things like new PvP maps, is there a way where we can somehow collectively make this work? Is there a way where we as a community can somehow further open a dialogue with Bungie about our wants and desires for new PvP maps? The final note I'll mention on the PvP front is how many folks I talked to at GCX about the upcoming game mode Relic. As a content creator, I often worry that sometimes I'll say something that I think is way off base and completely out of pocket. I was relieved, I guess, about how every PvP player I spoke to felt the same way I did about the announcement of Relic. Relic seems like it's going to be something that's good for a laugh for maybe a week or two, but I honestly can't imagine really playing it much more after that. I'd be really happy to be proven wrong on that one, but the game type just seems like on paper to be Mayhem 2.0. The creation of this game mode right now anyway seems like a big miss. Bungie's acknowledged that the PvP community is hungry for more content, which they're trying to deliver on within their capabilities, but this ain't it. Everyone I spoke to basically had no interest in another party game mode. It seems like something that really only the casual player would enjoy, but how many super casual D2 players really enjoy touching PvP right now. Again, I can't help but wonder if this is something we can have a follow-up dialogue on with Bungie. Moving on, the next thing I'd say people were the most upset about was the narrative of X isn't getting enough attention, therefore we're not going to spend more time working on X. This was apparent mostly with ritual armor sets and also Gambit. The part on ritual armor sets was what I heard far more about from the attendees at GCX. Joe Blackburn from Bungie mentioned that because these armor sets have very low usage rates by players, they're going to focus less attention on them going forward. In response to that, players in the community have asked what I think is a really fair question. If the ritual armor was as visually enticing as many of the paid cosmetic sets offered in the Eververse, would interest in ritual armor be as low as it is? In a similar vein, for Gambit, Joe Blackburn mentions they tried to make changes to the game mode that just didn't move the needle enough, and therefore Gambit will essentially be getting less focus from Bungie. And that logic in particular was making a lot of players I spoke to this weekend fairly nervous. What I mean to say is they're worried about some kind of following scenario. X in D2 doesn't get the right kind of tweaking from Bungie, interest in X begins to decline, and Bungie decides to completely halt giving attention to X. I mean, on one hand, if there's a part or feature in your game that the players simply aren't touching, it does make sense to focus less on that particular feature of the game and give more attention to what players are touching. But that does also raise the question, are there other factors involved in why the interest is so low in that specifically? Again, for example, many of the paid cosmetic sets far outshine the sheen of the ritual armor sets, and in the case of Gambit, were the right changes made to begin with. I've often said that I think by adding some kind of adept Gambit weapon reward, interest in the game type would likely go way up, the way folks grind out trials and GM Nightfalls for adept level rewards. But as I've mentioned earlier, I'm just a player, not a dev, and have no idea how much of an effort that might be to make happen. At the end of the day, most people I chatted with were A, discouraged by the State of the Game article, but B, still remained hopeful for the upcoming August 22nd showcase. And even though I too was definitely underwhelmed by the State of the Game article, I was at least picked up by the spirits and energy of everyone at GCX. I'm hoping that in the time between now and the August showcase, and more importantly, in the time between now and the final shape, we can really open more dialogues with Bungie about what changes we as a community want to see in the game, having Bungie understand our point of views a little bit more, and maybe also get more information from Bungie on how exactly the game dev cycle works, so both sides of the fence feel more tuned in to one another. Again, I'll be co-streaming the showcase on August 22nd, so please swing by the Twitch channel on that day. And I've also been slowly working on a live challenge where I play 100 hours of League of Legends, a game I've never played before. Hit the subscribe button for more content and share your thoughts down in the comment section. Just like I've been doing all weekend, would love to hear from you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on stream.